Is that everything? This feast has to be great.
I agree, Toka. This feast has got to be good, just like this DLC's got to be good. This week we're talking about AC Valhalla Siege of Paris DLC. This is the second DLC installment in the Season 1 pass, so I wanted to jump in and check it out and let you guys know what I thought.
And the Frankish boar with me is my advisor, Pierre.
We're greeted by two new characters in Ravensthorpe, Toka and Pierre. They're putting together a feast in hopes to kind of woo Eivor from Ravensthorpe back to Francia to help them with their cause. Toka's father, Sinric, was the Jarl of their town, and unfortunately he was killed, and one of his best friends and a right-hand man, Siegfried, is back in Francia, and he's trying to take down Charles the Fat, the king that's kind of ruling over everything right now, and he's really looking to take down the Norsemen. He's going through and pillaging Norse towns all through Francia, just to kind of, extending his arm of power or his rule. And the idea here is hopefully Eivor can go over to Francia and maybe convince Charles the Fat to not come to England and attack. So he's really just looking at his best interest for Ravensthorpe, but he is trying to help out in Francia as well with Toka, Pierre, and Siegfried. But the problem is Siegfried and Charles the Fat don't see eye to eye very often early on in the DLC story. They do come to some sort of tentative agreement, but let me tell you, these two guys don't tend to always stick to their words. So the way the story plays out past this, I'm not going to give away too much away, but it is very interesting. And that's one thing I really did enjoy about this, is the characters and kind of how they build this story so quickly. They did a really good job at getting you involved in this one early on.
Siegfried swears to be my loyal friend and protect our lands in Amiens and Rouen.
The biggest thing I enjoyed about this DLC was actually the return of the black box missions, or the assassination style missions, where you actually have to go around a particular area, find clues, or collect kind of, instruments to be able to assist yourself in assassinating a particular target. And they did a good job, because some of the ways you can kind of go about it and figure out how to kind of infiltrate into these areas and be able to assassinate your target in a very stealthy way really kind of brought back that original Assassin's Creed feel, which I wasn't really getting as much throughout Valhalla as a whole, and definitely in the other DLCs. So being able to bring this back into this DLC, I thought was a really nice touch. It was nice to be able to kind of, customize my playthrough in that sense and jump back into that, old school Ezio assassination style move. And they did a great job of presenting it here. Some of these assassinations were pretty wild. A new mechanic they've added into the AC Siege of Paris is actually this rat pack swarm that you get in some of the tunnels and the sewer areas that you are in when you're in Paris and throughout the map of Francia. And these things are just kind of a nuisance. They run all over the floor, and you have to use your weapon attacks to kind of scatter them away into grates that you then cover up to kind of protect yourself in that area. But they can just be a pain in the butt if you land in them. They're attacking you constantly. I thought it was a nice little touch to that whole kind of environment that you get thrown into. They also have a couple new weapons available. You have the Scythe, which is a great crowd control weapon. There's a few variations of it, so go looking for those if you're interested in that weapon, as long as a single-handed short sword, a hidden one short sword that you get for completing some of the hidden ones challenges as well throughout Francia. I did enjoy that Pierre had a few different missions that you could jump into, these rebel missions, where you actually get a small band of rebels that you can upgrade as you complete these side missions. These are completely separate from the main storyline, so you don't have to complete any of them to complete the storyline. But they did a good job here, because I thought, as simple as they are, they're pretty cookie cutter, especially for Assassin's Creed missions where we're going to, collect a certain target or assassinate a certain person and that kind of thing. And, they did a pretty fun time here with the way you kind of are able to upgrade your militia, whether you want hand-to-hand combat or guys that'll support you from range, which I thought was kind of a nice touch. You can kind of upgrade that. It gives you definitely a ton of different missions to play through outside of the main story, so I thought it was a nice little added touch. As a whole, I thought the, AC Valhalla Siege of Paris DLC was actually a pretty solid chunk of DLC. I mean, you're getting 6 hours to 8 hours for the main story playthrough, depending on how quickly you run through that. And you know what? That's exactly what you needed to be able to kind of build the stories around these characters and really feel invested in this particular storyline. I did enjoy it a little bit more than the Wrath of the Druids DLC, especially in the storyline. But the one thing I think the Wrath of the Druids may have over top of Siege of Paris is is the environment. I mean, Paris, they did a good job at making it look worn-torn in certain areas, especially with the, you know, the rats in the sewers and things like that. But generally when you run around and, you know, you're on your mount, which you do get a bear mount in this, which I thought was really cool, so I had to hop onto that instead of the ethereal wolf that I've been riding around on for a long time. I thought the bear mount was a great addition for the DLC, so I had to get my hands on that. But I mean, overall, Paris looked a lot like England, other than some of the, you know, red poppy fields that you may be running through. It just, you know, it did pull a lot of similarities. There wouldn't be as much of a difference in that as there was, say, with Wrath of the Druids, where everything was very Celtic and green, and, you know, it just added maybe a bit of a different feel for the environment. But overall, the Siege of Paris AC Valhalla DLC was a lot of fun. I had, you know, a good time with the story. I really enjoyed the characters. It's been a while since I've jumped back in, so it's nice to be able to kind of hop back in with a great story, play through, and have a good time. And so if you want to do any of the extra missions outside of the, you know, the original 6 hours for the main story, you're probably looking at another 6 to 8 hours of extra side missions. So if you're looking for that completionist, it's there for you. This DLC was a ton of fun, so if you're looking for a reason to get back into AC Valhalla, the Siege of Paris DLC might be for you.
This better work.
I embrace you, demon.